Ülkemizde efsane olmuş bir isim. Gordon Milne Bodrum'da konuğumuz. Kendisiyle özel bir röportaj gerçekleştireceğiz. Coach, welcome our interview. How's going on?
Very good, thank you. Here on Tartail with my family. Many years we've been coming to Akyala, so nice to see you.
Why you are on Bodrum? Also, you are on the holiday time, but why you select that areas?
Well, because my middle son, I have three boys. My middle son is married to a Turkish girl, and their family have a summer house here. So when he came on Tartail many years ago, he found this place, and we came, and we like it.
This is the very nice area we are looking to see.
It's a little bit of paradise.
Right. Also, when we say the Gordon Milne, all of the Beşiktaş fans, all Turkish football fans, you know, are you miss the Turkey? Are you miss the Beşiktaş?
Of course, yeah. You know it. That was a very important part of my life, and it was, of course, a successful time. But we grew together at that time, so because of family now. But I have many friends here, and I'm so happy that we had the opportunity. So we still, when we come to Istanbul, we still see some of the old players, and we talk about the good times. We reminisce, of course. So it's my second home.
On Turkey.
Yeah.
Also, that's my question about your nowadays. Are you working for the FA
Yeah,
also?
you
I
know
this topic.
Now, of course, BT retired, but I do a little work with the federation, the federation on the disciplinary panel, and so I enjoy that. It keeps me just in little contact. We live close to Leicester City, so I was at Leicester City before I came to Beşiktaş.
Mm-hmm.
So they make me very welcome, so we go to games at Leicester City, and then from a distance I watch the Turkish league, of course, so I still follow Beşiktaş and Turkish football.
The other side is Cenk Tosun, Çağlar Söyüncü's play on the Premier League areas. Have you got any ideas of them?
Well, you know, we were saying earlier that the Birincisi first season is always difficult.
For Tosun.
For players, yeah, also for a trainer. My first year at Beşiktaş, difficult, you know, understanding the mentality and the language. And so for Genk, this year, the season gone, I think next season he'll be better, you know. He'll understand the mentality now. He knows the condition. He knows the tempo of the Premier League. You know, Premier League tempo is high. So I think next season he will be better. It always takes 1 year for a foreigner, not just Turkish, any foreign to go, any experienced trainer going from Spain to England, Italy to England. First year's always difficult.
Can you give us some tricks of the Turkish football players to go in the European side or Premier League? What's the main trick of them?
Oh, I think, you know, now with technology and information and television, they go with more knowledge, but it's just adapting to the culture, and it's a different way of life. But they don't have to be frightened, you know. If they have the ability, then eventually they'll do well. And you know, before a lot of Turkish players used to go to Germany, you know, but it still takes time. But they should not be frightened of it, but understand it, and it's good for Turkish football that happens.
Also, Liverpool is thinking about the Turkish players to transfer to Premier League. Maybe Trabzonspor side Abdülkadir Ömür and Beşiktaş side Dorukhan Tokas. These players are so young and talented. What's the chance of that?
Well, you know, the big clubs today in Europe they have big scouting systems. So they are Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool, looking at young players. But the important thing is, if you go abroad, if you go to a different country, and 19, 20, the most important thing is to play, you know, not to sit on the bench. Now, Liverpool have a Butte cadro, Man City eine, same. So, you know, if you go from Beşiktaş to Liverpool, for example, and sit on the bench, that's no good. It's better to, I think, stay in Turkey and play.
Growing up.
Yes, to get the experience, and then 23, 24, maybe, when you go to a big club, you go to play, not to sit on the bench. You know? So that is, for young players, sometimes a difficult decision, you know. But they have to understand that, because, you know, Manchester City, for example, this year, Liverpool the same, had fantastic seasons.
Absolutely.
You know, but they have big players sitting on the bench. You know? So you have to understand that if you go to a big club.
The main point is work, right?
Yes, yeah, and you know, I would, as a player, I would not like to sit on the bench. You know, so I want to play. So you know, if you're at Beşiktaş, for example, and you're playing every week, that's better. You know, when you move, then you want to go direct into the big team.
Also, old Liverpool and Beşiktaş player Ryan Babel has gone Fulham side and come back to Turkey for Galatasaray.
Yeah.
Have you got any thinking about the Ryan Babel's career?
Well, you know, first as a player, somebody has to want you. You know, so and Babel, having the experience of playing in Turkey and then going away. Even an experienced player, coming back, he understands more. You know, he knows the mentality, so he knows where he's going. He's been before, but he's an experienced player. Younger players, more difficult. They have no experience, so that takes time. And so Babel, for him, I think that was good. You know, and when he comes back, he has more experience. So I think this season for Galatasaray, he had a good season. That's an example. Yeah.
Also, I would like for the Vodafone Park. You work for the İnönü side, but everything has changed. You visited the same areas. Are you compare that places? What would you like to say about them?
Oh, well, you know, my friends now in Istanbul are my age or older. So we talk about Fulya and, you know, Fulya, the soil pitch, and changing rooms were no good. And
everything is changing now.
You know, it was impossible. Now, İnönü, the camp is international standard, isn't it? It's top quality, you know. So for the players today, that is fantastic, you know. I sometimes wish when I dream, and I remember that cadre we had, I imagine them now with the facilities they have now and the stadium they have now and the pitch, everything. I just imagine how they would be, you know. They would be 50% better players.
Also, Vodafone Park hosted Super Cup final. Have you got a command of that?
Yeah, I mean, for
Chelsea.
Yeah, you know, that's two English clubs, but coming to that stadium, it's fantastic, you know. So, okay, Chelsea, Liverpool are used to having those facilities, you know. So, but it's still it's high quality. So for a footballer to come pre-season, it's a pre-season match, isn't it? It's an entraînement match, but it's a big big reward to win it. But to come there is fantastic setup, you know.
What is the effect of that competition hosted in Turkey on the Turkish football growing?
Yeah, I think it's big reclam for Turkish football, and you know the Vodafone Arena, the position on the Bosphorus, you know the weather will be great, the stadium will be full. It's
the big atmosphere.
Oh yeah, and you know big reclam, big. Yeah, so it's a big promotion for Turkish football.
When we talk about these days, Beşiktaş changed his coach. Abdullah Avcı is a new coach and assistant of coach. Şenol Fidan and
Yes.
Gökhan Keskin has worked for him.
Yeah.
What's your comment of that?
Well, I'm very happy for Gökhan and Şenol, and you know I'm very proud that they were part of that good team we had. For Abdullah, I think he did a very good job before this season. How many years was he at Beşiktaşspor?
Like 4 years.
Yeah, so he knows the Turkish football. He understands the mentality. He's Turkish. For Beşiktaş, I think that's a good appointment. I'm sure he'll do well. And for Şenol, I think also the right age now to go to the milli takım. I think that's a good promotion for the milli takım and good for Şenol also. You know, it's a different job, still the same pressure, but not daily pressure. And Şenol also experienced; he understands the mentality. So I think both appointments are very good for Turkish football.
When we look at the Turkish national team, what would you like to say about the chance of the European competition of Turkish national team?
Well, always, even in my time, always the Turkish milli takım had ability, always had ability. It was making that next step, wasn't it? You know, they go so far and then they fall. But again, this time I think the cadre's stronger, and again more players with European experience. So the milli takım, international football is a different mentality than league football. So, you know, the good national teams have experienced players, you know, and Turkey is getting more experienced players. So also I think, you know, it's optimistic outlook for Turkish football.
When I say you Süleyman Seba, how about your feelings?
He was a very special person, and a big part of my success with Beşiktaş was because of Süleyman Seba. The support, his mentality, he kind of created an atmosphere of respect and trust, and one of the main reasons I stayed longer was because of him, and his leadership was different, and he was respected not by Beşiktaş supporters, but Galatasaray, Fenerbahçe, everybody in Turkey respected him, and in a quiet way, he never made too much noise when we win the championship, but he never made too much noise when we didn't win, you know. So he was a very special man, yeah. Very close to my heart, Süleyman Seba.
Also, how is his effect of your successful side of Beşiktaş on Seba? When you're thinking about that, what is the effect of your success?
Well, you know, he had a human side, you know, because sometimes I used to chase him for para, you know, payment. So, başkan, para yok, you know. Gordon, bir hafta sonra, tamam mı? So, And but I believed him, So next week, but not next week, no next week. But you respected him. It was like his money he was going to give you, So if he said next week, okay, But he never interfered. He never said, you play Metin, you don't play Metin, you play Ali, you don't play Ali. What about Fayaz? No, never. He never interfered.
He never touched your
No,
lineups.
no, never. Gordon, why do you play this or why do you play that? And the early year, the first year in Turkey, it was difficult, And we had at Inanı one match. Before the game, you go on the pitch and look at this. And there's a big notice. Please go to your home, Gordon. That's what he said. He said, please. Lütfen, go back. Please go to your home, Gordon. And that was happening. So with the committee, some of the committee were not too happy at that time. And I used to go for a meeting, and there'd be 20 committee people round the table.
Board members.
Yeah. And Başkan would sit and I remember, and so the board members must have been talking and this and not happy. So we go for this toplantı, and I'm sitting there. So he bangs the table. Okay, talk to the other board members and ask him a question. Why, why this, why that? Nobody.